Hi, I'm Elle, otherwise known as Newo, and I'm going to talk a bit today about a shoot I did at Tank Space, which is an underwater facility for photography. I took the Interfit Badger beam, which is a continuous light up there, and had the opportunity to play around with creative outfits, colours and lighting in general. So we had 6 outfits between the 2 models, so I wanted to make sure that we had a good mix of different outfits, different colours, and make them all feel like the same series, but keeping with that kind of organic shapes, and then, you know, the fabric flowing around the water, but also the more structural elements of the design with those kind of little hints and glints. You know, I'm a bit of a magpie, so, you know, anything shiny is also good with me. So yeah, we set about kind of, I love using gels and making sure that we had different colours that complemented either the colour blocked outfits or those that are a bit more neutral but maybe more shiny, heavy on the metallics as well. So I noticed as well that actually at Tank Space they had a secondary empty tank, much longer at the side of the wall, so we decided that would be a really cool backdrop. I set up one of the Badger beams just with a simple white umbrella, so single light, continuous, and shot some of the outfits before the models actually got in the tank to give us kind of a dry land look. So the setup at Tank Space itself is that there's a tank, as you would expect, so there's a big tank, and actually there's two holes in the side almost with glass that you can light through. So with the Badger beams that I was using, I was able to crank them up to kind of top power and put them either side, and either use, you know, you could do it with ungelled, or you could have coloured gels, which is what I liked using and used quite a lot for this particular series. Outside of the tank, you essentially, one of the sides is fully glass, and then you as a photographer shoot from essentially a dark room, right? So you're minimising all the reflections, so you can just shoot into this tank, which is super fun. So for some of the colours, these are standard ones that come with the barn door modifier for the beams, but for other colours I would stack different gels to get the specific colour I'm looking for, or tone different colours around to make what I wanted. For a lot of these I'm working with contrasting colours just to make sure that we bring that dimensional aspect to some of the fabric and really boost that up. So from one side you might have yellow, the other side you might have teal, and it works together to just light each side differently. For others, I might have just used the same, so we had some, like this red outfit where we just lit with orange from each side, and it makes it look really fiery even though it's underwater, which I kind of like. So other than lighting from the sides of the tank, what we actually did for some of the shots is to take the beam, put it on just a really tall stand essentially, and actually light from the open top, so it gives you a much more natural feeling, almost like sunlight through water. You get those nice little individual rays. I thought it really worked. It made it feel like, you know, this girl was sat at the bottom of the sea. You know, I really like how this one turned out. And this was just one light, no gel, no modifier, just bare bulb, straight down into the water. So while we were already lighting from above, it was a bit of a spontaneous decision to actually take some pictures as well from the top of the water. I love how light reflections play on the top of water. So, you know, these really bright areas, and especially in something like the tank where it's quite dark inside, you know, it just peters off into black. And the outfit for this particular one, you know, was very pale, it contrasted. I'm actually really pleased with how some of these turned out, even though they were just spontaneous pictures from the top. For this, it's actually literally bare bulb, continuous light turned all the way down. So, you know, to really make sure that, you know, it wasn't going to be overblown. And then I brought those back up, those highlights a little bit back up in the post-production work. Editing these and doing some of the post-production was actually really easy compared to some of my usual work. With working in the studio, you tend to end up going kind of pour by pour, some beauty stuff, but there's something really organic about just loads of material in water, beautiful lights, beautiful colours. So most of the post-production was just colour grading and really trying to bring that colour out. I'm a big fan of kind of goth but make it colourful, so these were really a joy to work on, and I actually got a load of edits from this set. I think the most difficult part was just choosing the right picture, so choosing the one where the fabric looked great, choosing the ones where the bubbles in the foreground or the bubbles in the background, did they work, and the models did a fantastic job, so I'm really pleased with the shots that we got. So I'm really happy with the sheer number of different sets and different shots that came out of this that I'm really pleased with and really pleased to have in my portfolio. All in all, I think this was such a fun shoot to be on. It's really creative. To work with some people who are equally as passionate about creating something that was just beautiful and ethereal and colourful and creative was great. I definitely would shoot more underwater again. Hopefully some plans in the pipeline, so watch this space.
Welcome to the photography show, Ellie, and what a great video. So let's find out more about the shoot and the theme, of course. So an underwater shoot with models is certainly novel, and you look like a real expert. How many of these have you actually done before?
That was actually only my second, so it was great fun. I went to the tank space once before on a kind of group shoot, and it was really good fun. And I thought, what, I'd like to bring back some bigger costumes and be able to spend a bit of time, working on some of the kind of more stylized pictures that I really like. So actually only the second time, but they're a great bunch, and we had some great kit to work with. So yeah, really pleased. Definitely up for doing some more.
Excellent. And how long did that shoot take, just out of interest?
It was actually just before the whole pandemic debacle. So we were trying to keep it relatively short and sweet. It was probably a half day all in all to get through all the different outfits. I think we had about 5 or 6 different looks, so it's quite prompt because you want to minimize the amount of time the models are out the water and getting cold. So it was about half a day end to end, I would say.
And how many places are there in the country where you can actually go and shoot that kind of setup?
I think there's only a few that I know of where you can shoot underwater in the UK, but certainly the thing that I like about Tank Space is it's the setup that they've got means I don't have to get wet, right? So I don't have to have a load of housing for my camera. Essentially, it's like I said in the video, it's kind of a dark room with a glass fronted tank, and it's big enough that you can get nice all the big lots of fabric and stuff that I enjoy, but it's compact enough that you're not aimlessly floating around in the water. So I think it's a really nice option. Don't have to get wet, and you can have a number of people there at once as well, which is great.
Excellent. Well, the audience is starting to contribute some questions, and staying on clothes for a minute, Greg would like to know, where do you get your outfits from?
This is one I get asked a lot, right? So it's a bit of an amalgamation of I like fashion, so some of stuff has started off being just my own personal things, and then from there, more and more people, especially small, medium-sized designers, it will just be a bit of a, do we want to do something together? It's a bit more magical. I try and make things a bit more magical than just straightforward, e-com fashion. So I think it's a nice opportunity for all of us just to kind of play about and play dress up really on a kind of big scale. So most of the time it's just from building connections through that, and then some people see stuff and they go, oh, I want that for my designs. So I've been really fortunate to kind of be interested in it myself and grow it from there. So lots of independent designers, UK, Europe, a lot from America now as well coming through. So it's great fun.
Because you've worked as a model and a stylist, haven't you? So you've obviously got a very good eye. And as you say, you've kind of brought lots of these strands together in your work.
I try to, makeup started off as being, kind of one of my first loves. And then, just being able to, when I was modeling, you bring the proverbial suitcase of stuff. And I know modelographers get a bit of stick, but I think there's a real benefit in being able to look at something and go, how would this look? How would colors work together? Colors are a big one of my kind of areas that I love, and being able to look at things and go, right, this would work well with this, would work well with this. And then knowing how, especially women want to look, and they want to look powerful, and they want to look feminine at the same time, and they want to look otherworldly and interesting, and being able to pull all these different strands together, I think gives me something that I might not be the most technical photographer ever, but I can bring something that people are interested to look at.
Cool. Roger says, your models look very calm and collected with their eyes wide open under the water. Was the water warm, and was the makeup waterproof?
So yes, the water was warm. Tank space doing very well in that it's a nice toasty tank now. I wouldn't have minded getting in for a bit of a dip at the end, I think. So yes, the water is warm, which is great. So again, people can feel a bit more natural. Luckily, the models that I was able to have, one is an underwater model, which helps. The other wasn't, but if just having that kind of atmosphere of calm and being able to let them just relax into it, you can take as many takes as you want because it's quite fast paced. So that's one thing. In terms of underwater makeup, you can get it. So yes, when there's shots where there is a lot of makeup on, then that will be underwater. What you don't want to do, even with underwater makeup, is if you're there too long, the water can get quite cloudy. So what I would suggest is, as little makeup as you can get away with is great, and then have a think about what you can do in Photoshop afterwards, because I didn't actually have to do much post-production work on the pictures, so you can focus on some of the little details, like, do I want a little bit of shadow on the eye, or a lot of these pictures are more full body, so you're less involved in some of the makeup, which was great.
Excellent. And connected to that, you've probably answered some of it already, but how hard was it for the models, really?
I don't envy them doing it, because it's hard work, getting the skill to be able to kind of take that breath, get your blood oxygenated, right? And then let all that breath out, because you need them to be able to sink. So you need them to kind of be able to go at the bottom of the tank. And you'll have seen in that video one of the shots where the model with the blonde hair in red is kind of laying at the bottom. And if you've ever tried to lay at the bottom of a pool for any length of time, it's really hard. So being able to breathe out and then look relaxed and not panic. And also some of the shots where like you're leaning back, the water can go up your nose. So not trying to put anyone off, because it's a great fun, and I know Tank Space are very good at helping new models get into it and be comfortable with it. It is a skill, so I'm very, very in awe of the models that I got for this, for sure.
Well, they really did do a great job. David says, when you shoot through glass, how do you deal with reflections?
So the nice thing is here that the light setup is quite an interesting one. You've got, and you'll have seen in the shot, there's a couple of different ways that I actually lit it. So first of all, if you imagine the tank, you've got two little holes in the side, and one of my preferred setups was to shoot different gel light from both sides of the tank. Now, you're kind of behind the glass panel at the front, but you're effectively in a big dark room. So you don't have any of that light spilling out into where you're shooting from. So you're shooting through the holes, then you've got the solid sides of the tank, three sides, then you've got the glass front, but that is in a black tent. So unless somebody is got their phone out or doing anything in the tent, if you keep that relatively dark, actually you're not struggling with any of the reflections at all, which was bonus points for not having to Photoshop everything out. So yeah, great little setup. They've really thought about it.
Excellent. Iphion would like to know. He says, "Fantastic images, Ellie. Hard to believe they're lit with just two lights. So well done. I mean, obviously the lights must be super good."
Yeah, well, this is it was quite nice actually because it's the first chance I had to play about with the Badger beams, which is what I was using from my sponsor Interfit, and the nice thing, cranked them all the way up, and when you're just positioning them, they're actually really quite powerful when they're on full blast. So there was two setups I was doing. One is the two lights from either side, but one of the setups when you get the nice rays through the water was actually just lit really long stand from above and just shooting bare bulb to keep as much of the light as possible. But yeah, it's really simple, simple setups, great simple bit of kit. The nice thing is about these as well, they are actually battery powered, so you can have them with battery, you can do them through the wall, through the mains. But I just had a load of batteries charged. I used their other lights, the Unleashed as well from the Badger family. Same batteries, so I already had a ton of batteries, right? So, it just meant no cables, no trip hazards, and just crank them all the way up, keep them on full power, bare bulb stuff. So really simple, don't need a load of modifiers. But I'm really pleased with the shots. I'm really pleased that other people like them as well. That's definitely some of my favourites.
No, they're great. Dominic was wondering, post-production, you presumably spend lots of time removing bubbles, or does the lighting help?
The lighting does help, I think. But I would say the two things about bubbles is I've got a couple of shots in this set that actually have a boatload of bubbles in. And, where there's a load, specifically where maybe a model has been breathing out or we've had a bit of a splash, I've used that. So some of the pictures, wouldn't be afraid of not having any bubbles. Use it if you want something that's a bit of motion and emotion. Have that in there. There's a couple of shots where everything else in the water is actually really still. It's a couple of the headshots, and there's just a tiny couple of bubbles coming out from the model's mouth, and I really like that. But I would say in terms of some of the bigger pictures, I look less for is it a bubble, get rid of it, and more for is it a distraction from the overall image. If it distracts, so if you've got a nice picture and there's a few odd stragglers of bubbles over here, yes, get rid of them. If they go with the picture, if they don't take away from it, leave it. It's underwater. I see a lot of times people have gone and spent hours and hours and hours taking past every single one, and that's where again, if you want that look, get a model who really their bread and butter is underwater, because they will be able to give you that time to shoot while they're holding your breath. The bubbles have all had the time to come to the surface. So pick your team really wisely, depending on what sort of pictures you're wanting, I think.
Excellent, thank you. How do you get the gelled lights looking so good? And that's from Greg.
So a couple of things with that. First of all, is when you're working with gels, with when I was using the beams, I actually got some barn doors, put them on, because obviously you don't want your gel right next to a hot bulb, you'll melt it. But you can use the gels that just slide into the barn doors, the ones that are pre-made, or a lot of mine, are just colours that I like that are just sellotaped onto the barn door structure itself. What I would say is I shoot quite a lot of stuff at, f9, f10, f11, so looking at settings like this to really it's a bit gloomier, but bring out the intensity in the gels. Otherwise, you do tend to find that they can go not as intense as you want them to be. So I will shoot a lot like that, and I will also choose the gels specifically. So a lot of the work that you'll have seen on this particular shoot for sure, colours that contrast each other, work together and highlight different sides of the model. So it'll be teal and an ambery yellow, or it'll be pink and greens and things like this that work together to make it even more striking.
Excellent, thank you. Maria missed the beginning and she said, where is tank space?
So tank space down in Nottingham, so you can go have a look. They're actually exhibiting as well at the photography show today. So they have a demo at 10:30 till 12. They're doing a little demo of how it's working, but they're also actually doing open remote shoots, so you don't actually have to go there. This afternoon, have a look at their page. They've got a couple of sessions, so if you're not able to get there, then you can actually shoot remotely with them this afternoon, which is cool.
Excellent. And Greg says, would you be interested in creating more narrative type films, such as music videos, that kind of thing?
So this is where I know a lot of photographers are also videographers, right? Love a bit of video. I don't know what it is about me. I am a still person through and through, but I love creating the concept, right? Love that. So I am definitely up for creating more stuff like I did with this, because we did actually do a little, almost like a music video, but not quite, that accompanied this as well. And definitely doing more where I get to do what I consider the fun stuff, like, styling and putting all the sets together and doing all the colors, shooting some stills, and then also having somebody who is a good videographer, good musicians on board, so that you've got people who are great at each of those skills. Definitely interested in doing more stuff like that, where you've got people working together to create not just the stills, but everything that goes into it. Videos, bringing music, bringing characters to life. Definitely love that idea.
Excellent. You touched on colours earlier on. How do you actually put your thoughts into a colour palette when you're kind of scoping out a shoot like this?
So there is a great, I know a lot of people look at kind of different bits of photography and stuff for inspiration. A lot of the time it will be just colours that I like. So, I'll be looking at something going, something, teal and red is like one of my go-to faves. So, that will just be a bit of a no-brainer. And metallics that pick up different colours. But also, there's some great things you can do in terms of if there's a film that you particularly like, just having a look at some of the cinematography in there and going, what is it I like about this? Interrogate some of your favorite films or music videos or other pictures and go, what is it that I like? And sometimes you'll be watching something and there'll be a scene and you'll realize that I like it because of the color palette. Hannibal, the series, is a great example of that. I love some of the cinematography in that, and it tends to be kind of bright reds and then these kind of like dirty greeny grays, but it looks so beautiful. And actually some of the pictures from this set, the kind of more medically inspired ones, they are based on some of the color palettes from Hannibal as well. So there's a lot of things that I will take inspiration from in terms of great cinema, great art. So and then by the time you've practiced that a lot, right, you'll start putting them together yourself a bit more organically.
Because you're into crafting, aren't you? You've been making something this morning. So how many of the props that you use are actually made or crafted rather than just acquired?
I would say more and more nowadays. Yeah, I'll show you. This is this morning's orb. So this is for one of my harebrained ideas. I want to do kind of like a flower queen sort of vibe. So definitely I'm lucky enough to have a bit of a crafty streak. So I'm not a seamstress, so most of the dresses and stuff are definitely from from designers or thrifted, but I get more and more into making some of the props that accompany those pieces. So if a designer wants to work with me on a certain set, I will think, what would make this even better? Does it need a crown? Does it need an orb and a scepter? Does it need some kind of shoulder piece? So a lot of this sort of stuff, I'm definitely getting more and more into crafting pieces to accompany some of the designs that I get to work with, which I think adds value for them as well, right?
Of course. Nick says, can we see your images again, please? I don't think we can run that video again, but Ellie, where's the best place to check out your work? Presumably your website.
So there's
right?
actually, if you head to my website, there's actually a blog that I wrote on this particular shoot, which has the music video we kind of did, but it also has all the pictures, so you can see a little bit more of kind of my run through the day. So you can head over to either my socials or my website. I know the blog is also up on the Interfit page as well. So head to any of us from there, you know, and you can find the images. You can see them nice, full, high res, and have a look. And if you do have any questions on the pictures, you can always drop me a message or drop me something on social media as well. I'm more than happy to talk through some stuff.
Excellent, thanks. What's next for you? What's coming up? Obviously,
So
you're a bit
I've
limited
got,
at the moment.
huh?
Obviously, you'll be a bit limited at the moment, like the rest of us with lockdowns and everything. But kind of when life returns to some semblance of normality,
When
you
it
must have some
returns to
exciting
normal.
stuff coming out.
Yeah, so I actually do a lot of self-portraiture, which has kept me a bit sane during lockdown, which is great fun. But I am getting a bit sick of shooting my own face. So as soon as I am able, then what I would like to do is I've actually moved up north, so I'm living you know, East Yorkshire now, and there is some beautiful coastline in East Yorkshire. So there are some great places near Bridlington where you know, they've got some wonderful kind of the old concrete sea defences that have fallen off the cliffs. I would love to do a big kind of beach fashiony concrete bunker type vibe there. Head out into the wilds of the North Yorkshire moors, shoot some big colourful sets there as well. So I guess getting outside is next for me. Getting outside and doing some taking the lights out, you know, and doing some big sets. You know, we can still social distance, but I think they're going to be epic. So watch this space. I've got some stuff planned.
Excellent, thanks. And what was your kind of journey into photography? You touched on it briefly earlier on. You'd obviously done some other disciplines connected to this kind of work, but what was the kind of moment you realised that you actually wanted to be behind the camera?
So I actually, my first kind of foray into cameras, I actually used to sell cameras at Curry's, right? So the technical aspect came from there. But when I'm a biologist by education, so part of my dissertation was taking macro photos of insects to identify them and some of the pollinators and the flowers. So I got into, I would say, into photography in general doing that, and then when I kind of got my head round, okay, these are the settings, this is what I'm doing, this is macro, then I thought, well, why not turn it a bit self-portraiture? You know, you do enough modeling for other people, why not just do the stuff that you want to do as well? So it was a merging of those two worlds, the technical aspect, you know, and then thinking, well, I want to put my own stuff together, give it a bash, you know, how hard can it be? And it's been a steep learning curve ever since, I think.
And how hard was it, really? Well,
I think definitely the getting, you know, if I'd have gone back in time, I would have told myself to sit down and actually, you know, listen to some good educators. Get yourself something to begin with, and then apply that to what you want to do. Because I think it is a steep learning curve, and I'm really pleased to where I've got to. You know, we're 4 years in now, so I'm really pleased where I'm at. There's always room for growth, but I would have said, look, sit down, have an education in the basics, get yourself shooting, you know, in a way that works for you. So, you know, doing the self-portraiture, I didn't know about tethered shooting for the first period of time, which in hindsight saves you loads of, you know, effort and being able to see what you're doing and double hat in both those respects. So there are just some tips that I probably would have gone back and told myself, but you know, it's been fun learning it, so I can't say that it hasn't.
excellent. Obviously, we touched on your lighting setup earlier in our chat, but what cameras do you actually use, and what are your go-to lenses? Or is it all, obviously it's all context dependent?
Okay, so everyone's going to hate me when I say this. I still use a beat up old Canon 60D and a kit lens for most stuff, or a 50mm fixed lens for most things, because I'm I'm just kind of like I'm a stingy northerner, right? I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And people like the photos, and I like the photos, but I have got my eye on an upgrade, so maybe I'll get it in the photography show. Who knows?
Excellent. Some great deals on going on, of course they are. Maria says she can't find your website. Could you just give us the URL just so that she can pick it up from this?
Yeah, of course. It's www.newoimagery.co.uk. So it's NEWO imagery.co.uk. Or you can find me on Instagram, newo_imagery. I'm on there as well.
I understand some more Interfit things coming up today. So your colleagues are
We've
doing
got
that?
a couple. So the lights for this particular set, the underwater stuff, was the Badger Beam, but I also used the Badger Unleashed, which is their flash, in the same range. So Joe is going to be talking about them at 1:35, and then if you want to know a bit more about high speed sync and the Unleash, so the flash, we've got Mark talking about stuff at 3:25 this afternoon as well. So if you want to know a bit more about the particular lights, definitely listen to those sessions with those guys because they're very up on the tech aspects for sure.
Excellent. Well, Ellie, it's been fantastic talking to you. Thanks for sharing all that amazing information and the images. And thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend and enjoy the photography show.
You're more than welcome. Bye.